Yo, what is up, guys? Thank you for tuning in today. You clicked onto this video because you're probably looking to learn how to tap, so I'm not going to waste your time at all. We're going to get right into it. We're going to start with the basics of tapping, how I like to think about the fretboard and visualize it, and we're going to start pretty basic here and kind of slowly get more advanced as we go. And then we're going to talk about a couple exercises you can work on to get your start in tapping. So go ahead and grab your guitar, tune up. I'm in standard tuning here. That's E, A, D, G, B, and E, and let's get right into it. Alright guys, so I'm going to start off by defining what tapping is, and all tapping is we're going to fret notes like normal with our left hand like we would be when we're playing, but we're also going to add the right hand in the mix here and fret notes with these fingers as well. So a really great place to start with this is actually with our minor pentatonic scales, and those are the scales that we all learned when we first started playing guitar. So that would be this scale right here. We should all be very familiar with that scale. So the next step is we want to make sure we can play that scale in all the positions across the fretboard. So that would look like this. Here's our first position. We all know this one pretty well. Here's the next position. Next position. Next position. Here's our next position. And then we're back at roots, which is the same as down here. So what we want to do is make sure we're very familiar with all of those positions. And if you're not, I would go ahead and click off this video and go ahead and make sure you know all those really well, and then go ahead and come back to this video. So once you know all those positions really well, the next step is going to be to apply our tapping. So the way I like to do this is I'm going to visualize the fretboard using one or more of those positions we just looked at. So I'm going to go ahead for this example. I'm going to take my root position pentatonic to make it simple. And I'm going to take our position that exists up here on the 14th fret. And I want to be able to visualize those two positions at the same time without even touching the neck. So what I want to do here is I'm going to take those notes that exist on the position on the 14th fret, and those are the notes I'm going to tap with my right hand. For me, I like to tap with my middle finger. If you like to tap with your first, I've seen a lot of players tuck the pick into their fingers and then tap with the first finger like this. It's totally fine if you prefer to do it that way. For me, I like to just tap with the middle finger. That way I don't have to change my pick grip at all. That way you can kind of fluidly go between different techniques, and it's more economic that way in my opinion. So for me, I like to tap with the middle finger. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take that root position pentatonic and 14th fret up here. And all the notes that happen on the 14th fret are the notes we're going to tap here. So to tap, what we're going to do is we're going to play this root position, and we're not going to pick it with the pick like that. We're going to do what's called a hammer-on out of nowhere. And that's going to be, you're just going to tap that first note there with your first finger. And then from here, it's all going to be legato, which is hammer-ons and pull-offs. So we're going to go ahead, play that first position, and then we're going to add the middle finger up here on the 14th fret. And that is one string's worth of tapping. So from here, we're just going to continue through both pentatonic patterns. So again, if we're going to take our minor pentatonic position, again, notice I didn't do any picking with that. All I'm doing here is hammer-ons and pull-offs. And we're doing the same thing with our middle finger on the 14th fret. So pretty straightforward there. It can be kind of complicated at first. It can be a little intimidating, but you kind of want to get out of that mindset. Don't let it intimidate you. You want to think about this like you're going to get it down. So again, let's just take this real slow. Seventh fret of the E string. Hammer on to the 10th. Hammer on to the 14th, and then work your way through both of those pentatonic positions. And kind of slowly build speed as you go. The really tricky part about tapping that you want to be really conscious of as you work on this is the technique aspect of it. You want to make sure you're getting a good sound out of the guitar, and that can be a really hard thing to do with this sort of technique. So what I mean by that is you want to make sure each note is kind of ringing out clearly without any unwanted noise. And the best way to do that is try to play all these notes with no space in between them at all. So you don't want any of this kind of thing going on. I'm kind of over exaggerating it there, but that's the point here. You kind of want to eliminate as much of that as possible. So as you're going through this, try to make sure each note is getting its full value. And just like that, how I did that really slow, there's no shame in that at all. And that's actually how you're going to get the best results here. If you go really slow and just make sure each note's coming out really clear without any unwanted string noise, that's how it's going to sound the best, and that's how you're going to build up this technique for yourself. So again, just make sure you're working on this really clearly. So once you've gotten the clarity thing down where you can get all your notes to sound pretty good, ringing out with no unwanted string noise, that sort of thing, and you feel pretty comfortable in that initial position we started in with your root position and tapping up here on the 14th fret, this is the point where you're going to want to start experimenting with different notes in different positions of the pentatonic scale like we spoke about earlier. So we're going to go ahead and mess around with this a little bit. So we're going to start again in that root position we're all familiar with. And instead of tapping up here on the 14th fret, we're going to take that 14th fret position. And instead of playing the 14th fret, we're going to play the other notes that exist in that position. So a pentatonic scale exists with 2 notes on each string. So instead of playing the first note on each string, we're going to play the second note that happens on each string, and that's going to be our tapping note. So in that position on our low E string, it'll be 17 on the E, 17 on the A, 16 on the D, 16 on the G, 17 on the B, and 17 on the high E. So now our new position looks like this. So that is another way that you can do that. So that is kind of the process there. You kind of want to experiment with different notes that exist in the pentatonic scale. So let's take another one, for example, here. Let's move down to, instead of root position in our left hand, let's do the position that happens right behind root. So that would be here on the 5th fret and 7th fret of the E string. And then let's go back to tapping that 14th fret position with our middle finger. But instead of root again, we're going to the position below root. So now this sounds like this. So that's kind of the process you want to go through. You kind of want to experiment with all the different ways that you can mix and match these pentatonic positions with your tapping hand. All right. Another really cool way that you can tap to add a little more melodic variety to your playing is you can limit the amount of strings that you're tapping on. So instead of tapping across all six, we could just take maybe our D string, for example. And in that root position, we have frets 7 and 9. And we're going to go ahead and keep this position of the 14th fret in the right hand. But we're also going to tap two notes with that finger in that position. So we're going to tap. So we've got 5, 7, 14, pull off back to 9, and tap that 16th. So that's kind of another cool way you can add a little more melodic variety to your playing. That being said, keeping that in mind, as well as the mix and matching and trying to combine all these different pentatonic positions with our tapping hand, I don't want to show you all the different possibilities there are, because the possibilities are actually endless, if you will. And every player's ears hear things a little differently. So you just kind of want to like work through these and experiment with the whole fretboard and find the ones that sound really nice to you. If you do this, this is going to help you develop a sense of awareness on the fretboard and a sense of melodic awareness as well. So it's going to help you kind of just really find your way and your feel around the fretboard. All right, so once you have kind of really gotten the pentatonic thing down with tapping, as awesome as pentatonic licks are, everybody loves to play pentatonics, but eventually it gets kind of limiting. So you want to be able to work, like maybe your minor scales or your Dorian or some of your different kinds of modes into this. The really nice thing about starting the tapping ideas with pentatonics is everything else lays around pentatonic scales. So if you can get your pentatonics down, then from there, all it is just adding another note or two in there. So what we're going to do here is just a little example of that. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our original idea of this root position and tapping on the 14th fret. But we're going to start filling in the gaps of what maybe like our minor scale would be. So let's go ahead and figure that out. So if we know our minor pentatonic position in B minor, to play a minor scale, there's just a few missing notes. So those notes would be, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's our roots, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 roots. All right, so now we've got our minor scale. So now all the notes that happen in the minor scale that don't happen in the pentatonic scale, now we can use those notes to contribute to our tapping ideas. So again, let's start in that root position pentatonic, but this time it's going to be a minor scale, and we're still going to tap the 14th fret with the middle finger. So now our tapping lines might sound like this. So now it becomes a little more interesting. So that being said, that's another step you want to take, is once you get the pentatonics down, you want to try to start working these other scale types into it as well. All right, guys, the last thing I'm going to show you here is a couple of exercises that I put together, and this should kind of help you get your start in tapping. I made a free PDF that you can download. You can find the link in the description of this video, and that's going to have all the tabs and notation, so you can download these exercises and take them with you for your own practice purposes. So go ahead and download that. Let's get into these exercises, and once you kind of get these down, feel free to branch out from there and experiment and come up with your own tapping exercises. right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I hope you guys got some valuable knowledge out of this tapping lesson. Make sure you download that free PDF and make sure to take these things really slow and make sure you're getting the most clarity that you can out of your sound here. If you guys aren't already subscribed to my channel here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give me a like, follow, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next one.